We passed this absolutely insane market, so we had to turn around really fast and we're going back. Wait till you see what this looks like. This place rocks. This place is unbelievable. Know what it is? It's just everything. There's everything here. We've got guitars and records and toys. The Roof Beam board games is sick. Dude, what? This place is crazy. My mom will go crazy for this one. This is very sick. These are vintage maps of the area. So the whole Sierra National Forest. How cool is this? This is like right where we camped out the first night we came here. It's so tiny. A little bit small. This is dangerous right here. Wow, these are so cool. Okay, so after spending like 15 minutes straight looking at vintage pins, this is my haul. I say I did pretty good. That place was so unbelievably sick. Just a frame of reference for me, if there's ever a store that looks like a Cracker Barrel on the inside, I will be purchasing things. Good morning. Some sad news. Our time at Yosemite is done. 3 amazing, exhausting days, and I don't want to leave this place. But the good news is that we have 2 more national parks that we still have yet to hit. But before we get there, we're gonna pack up camp and head into Fresno for the day, get a much needed shower, have a good meal, and we still have some cool things in store for the day. So let's get to it. All right, so we're making a pit stop in Fresno in between going to Yosemite and Kings Canyon. And on the way, we actually have a chance to go talk to a legendary bootmaker, John Lofgren. He invited us to his place, and we get to go just nerd out about boots for the next however long he wants to talk. So we're heading there right now. I'm really, really excited to talk to him. So for those of you who might be unfamiliar, I'm here with legendary bootmaker John Lofgren. Thank you so much for inviting me into your home.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome you to Fresno. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. I think something that most people watching this would be really intrigued to hear about is just the international dynamic that you have with your company. Your boots are diligently handcrafted in Japan, but of course we're here in California. So how did that international dynamic start? And what is it like kind of being on both sides of 2 different countries?
I should probably start from the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was living here back in the 90s and was working in the vintage clothing business. I was working at a rag house and all my customers were from Japan. So one of my customers offered me a job as a buyer for his company. There's an opportunity to do something interesting. So I took it and ended up moving to Japan in the latter 90s. One thing led to another. I ended up leaving the company because they were moving more towards like women's used clothing, and I was more into like men's vintage. I just went out on my own with vintage clothing. You want to have like vintage boots and stuff, right, to go along with it. And then finding cool vintage boots like in your size and that aren't falling apart, or you get them and they look okay, but the leather's 50, 60, 70 years old. Vintage footwear doesn't last as long as like regular vintage clothing, right? Just started thinking like, what if we just made this? That started getting the footwear business going. The reason why I ended up back here is my parents needed some help with their farm. My family made raisins for Sun-Maid. I was really enjoying my life in Japan, but when family calls, every once in a while I have to fly back to Japan, and I got staff that I can really rely on, and then we'll just meet every night over the internet.
It's ironic that you brought up your family's connection with Sun-Maid, because one of the first things that we did was stop by the world's largest box of rainbows at the Sunmade factory.
Yeah.
Just kind of telling the story of how you got started with your company. You mentioned some engineer booths. You brought some out here, and you referenced that those were one of the first things that you made.
Yeah, this is basically where it started.
Yeah.
I made the samples, took pictures, put them on Facebook, and I got 50 pre-orders. Unfortunately, at the time, with the exchange rate, it put them up at like $1,000. And people weren't used to spending that kind of money on boots. By taking like, best materials that I could get my hands on, having them made by craftsmen, no slave labor, no child labor, nothing like that involved at all. So all that cost money. I'm not looking to cut corners. Most companies look to like, where can we like shave off a little bit, and a lot of those companies, they pass the savings on to the customers. My thinking wasn't like that at all. We're not cutting corners.
So just glancing at your Instagram a little bit, you see motorcycles, vintage hunting, traveling all over the world. Have you always had this appetite for adventure? And is it something that you think you're going to keep on having forever? Do you think it's ever going to run out?
No, I don't think so. It's just who I am. We're unpacking boxes for this house, realizing like how many books I have on like apparel design or military clothing, but then I'm also pulling out books on like antique furniture or antique books on furniture. Not only is like the furniture an antique, the actual book's an antique. I'm going to leave the screen for a second. I just got this a couple weeks ago.
That's
Explorers. Awesome. Is it ever going to stop for me? Probably not. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
Traveling or motorcycle riding, going up in the mountains. I just try to soak it in and let it influence my life.
I was resonating big time with everything that you were saying because I've always had such an appetite for learning. I am obsessed with chasing it, and I think learning and adventure go hand in hand in that way. So it makes sense that you have a book about explorers. You start reading about it and you're like, I gotta go see what this is about myself. And that just like sends you out all over the place until we end up camping out of a truck at Yosemite and talking to people like you. Okay, so your autumn winter line is up for pre-order on your website, and there's obviously some incredible stuff there. But it seems like the real star of the show has been those M98 World War II Japanese boots that you did with Rose Anvil. And the craziest thing about those is, alongside all of your other boots, is the intentional effort that you put into that one specifically. What made you decide to go so hard into that, and what was that experience like now that you have this amazing result?
Those boots, those boots are something like I've considered doing like years ago. So I've had several of those boots in my possession. I always thought like, this is something that would be really interesting. It was always like on the back burner. And then Rose and Anvil was going to cut a pair in half, so I wanted to watch it. He mentioned something about I was ever going to do a collaboration with these. It'd be great to have John Lofgren do them. He's like, makes boots in Japan. So I'm just like, okay. It's like a sign. I'm like, it's time to do those boots. So we were going to do these Imperial Japanese Army boots. I got the factory that used to make them, and I met with the owner of the factory, and it's like, we basically sat in like a classroom, and he gave us like the whole rundown, the history, why the sizing is the way it is. It doesn't make any sense. He's like, it's tabby sizing. Right before the war, your average Japanese person that like, especially like lived out in the countryside, never owned a pair of shoes. They didn't know what their size was. You're a young recruit, and then the guy's like, what size shoe do you wear? You don't say like, I'm like a US 9 or a Japanese size 27. You don't know that. You know your tabby size. Why would you size 11.3? But apparently 100 years ago, they thought that was a good way to size. We had to tan the leather. Nobody was making that pigskin that the boots were made out of. The first ones we made, putting them on like the leather like ripped. So we had to go back to the drawing board, re-tan them again, experiment with tanning. A lot of handwork done on them. And it was like a passion project.
It has to be pretty rewarding to see the response and then the boots themselves selling out.
They sold out so much faster than I thought. And we gave ourselves like a bit of a cushion with the production time. And I'm glad we did because we sold about twice as many as I thought we were going to sell.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for having me and welcoming me into your home and letting us nerd out about boots.
I really appreciate you guys making the effort, coming by. Not a lot of people come to Fresno.
I'm so glad it worked out.
Maybe we can do it in a year.
Would love to.
Or maybe we can do it in my office in Japan.
Would be even better. This has been awesome. Thank you. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Amazing.
That was awesome. That was super fun for me personally
Definitely a treat. He was so cool. Now we are going to another place in Fresno before we head down to Kings Canyon, the Underground Gardens. I've only seen photos of this, but it looks awesome. And a few other people recommended that I hit it when we were just passing through. So we're heading there now, and we'll see how it is. This is my brother, actually.
Oh.
It's my brother Kent, and then Anthony lives in Los Angeles.
You look Italian.
I know.
You can spot an Italian.
Clocked right away. And then I'm crust.
Silvio.
Yeah.
Silvio.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
So what do you know about the garden so far? I know you said you were interested in it. Were you able to look up the history at all?
Genuinely, no.
Okay.
I like to try to come into this stuff as blind as
Completely fresh,
possible.
yeah.
Whether it be a movie or a museum.
Yeah.
And I just know that a lot of my friends had highly recommended it.
Okay.
And I just saw a few photos and it looked so unreal. I was like, all right, I'm in.
So the Underground Gardens was created by a man named Baldassare Forestieri, and he was from a little town called Folari in the Messina region of Sicily. Baldassare grew up learning how to tend to citrus, and it was ultimately his dream to set out on his own and make his fortune growing citrus, which is what led him to America. Came here in the early 1900s and eventually made his way out to Fresno. But as soon as he gets his shovel out to dig that first hole, he encounters something we have here in Fresno called hardpan. So hardpan's a sedimentary rock. We're actually surrounded by it in this area, all this stone that you're seeing. So you can't grow citrus in hardpan. The roots are too delicate. So you can imagine this is devastating for him. This is something he's been working towards for years, and now he's realized that he can't plant his trees. He can't have his citrus groves. But then Fresno summer comes along, and it is very hot. So he starts trying to get creative and think of ways to escape that heat, and he thinks back to Sicily and how common it was to have cellars there. And he knows it's going to be cooler if he goes underground. So he gets a pickaxe out, and he goes back over to that hardpan and just starts whacking away at it until he is able to create a room underground where he can move his bed. And that's this room that we're standing in right now.
That's crazy.
This is where he would sleep at the end of the day and just try to cool off. And you can really feel there's already a temperature difference. It's even more noticeable on a really hot day.
Yeah, it's significant.
So he's loving it. He thinks, well, maybe I'll make another room and I'll move my stove down here. So he makes a second room, moves the stove down here. He decides he wants to experiment with growing his trees below ground level.
Wild.
This tree is one of his originals that he planted
That is crazy.
in the early 1900s. It's still alive. It's still producing oranges, as you can see.
Over 100-year-old tree.
Over a 100-year-old tree, which for a citrus tree is very impressive. Their lifespan is typically about 50, maybe 60 years in really good conditions.
This is one of the coolest rooms
I love this
ever
room.
seen. Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
love this room. This is his water well,
That's so crazy.
which from this point is 40 feet deep.
Oh, even deeper. Okay. That is crazy. I feel like I'm in line for like a Disney ride. You know what I mean?
No,
like
yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean or something off to the left.
Yes, very rustic.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So once Baldassare decided that he was going to start growing trees underground, he actually moved his living quarters into this area. This was the bedroom area. He had a bed right here, so think of that like the headboard. And then moving into here was a kitchen. So you can see stovepipe where the
stove,
wood-burning stove was.
Not to jump the gun, because I feel like you'll probably cover it later, but how long was it taking him to get to like this point even?
So this area that we're in right now, he would have been working on in the first 10 years. Now he worked down here for a total of 40 years.
Wow.
So this became his life's work.
Yeah. This is enormous.
This was his chapel area. Growing up in Sicily, he was raised Roman Catholic. Prominent families would typically have a private chapel either in their home or near their home. So we consider this his chapel garden. And then over this way, we have his area of prayer. And he even had his chapel bell up there, which also doubled as a doorbell for him.
That's awesome.
So he made sure his close friends and family knew how to get to this spot. They could just ring the bell, and you can hear it all throughout the property.
Wow.
In fact, Sylvia will still ring it sometimes
Oh,
when
really?
he comes in.
Yeah, I mean, if there were somebody in my town who was living underground, I would want to do
Well, you'd
everything to
befriend
be
that
friends with them.
person.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Like, they got something going on, I want to be a part of it.
Right, well,
Yep.
and especially in the summertime. I mean, this was the cool place to be, which was something Baldassar eventually thought about, was that he wanted to expand this and open it up as a day resort. So people in Fresno could come for the day and just escape the summer heat, relax in the courtyards he was creating. You can keep coming this way. You can still see, this is really cool. I love his pick marks in the walls here. And then these are the upgraded bedrooms. He had learned at this point, living underground, that in the winter, it can get like bone-chillingly cold down here. So that room over there is his winter bedroom. He had learned at this point that hardpan can work as a natural insulator. So he put the fireplace in there. He could close off this area and actually stay warm in the winter.
Hardpan does it all.
Yeah, right. It seems like such an inconvenience, but it's a good insulator. It has a purpose. And these paintings on the walls, these are his.
I didn't even notice those.
What I have heard is that the trees are meant to be reminiscent of trees from where he grew up in Fulari.
The paintings are unbelievable.
The paintings are special.
Yeah.
This is an example of a room that he would have had for the day resort. So the idea was that people could just, sit here, have a glass of wine, get fruit right off the tree of the grapevine over here.
Yeah, literally right there.
Yeah, so that was the ultimate vision that he had for it, was to eventually open it up that way.
Wow.
This tree was a masterpiece of his because he liked experimenting with grafting. Putting more than one fruit onto a tree.
Yeah.
This particular tree, Baldassar was able to successfully get 7 different types of fruit to grow on it.
I've done grafting in Animal Crossing before. But
oh, okay, so you know all about
nothing
it
to
then.
this extent. Nothing to this extent.
Now this was also meant to be part of the day resort idea. This is his auto tunnel.
Okay.
So this was designed specifically for cars to be able to drive down here from ground level. So his idea was that people would be able to drive in, get a preview of the resort, and park their car.
That is so insane. When we pulled up, I was sort of like, oh, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
You get down here, it's enormous. And then just going through it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. This guy was making his own home and his own orchard here. And now it's a whole other thing now.
Yeah, no, he had big ideas
whole
for
other
it.
thing.
He had big ideas for it. Unfortunately, he did pass away before he was ever able to see it become the resort.
It's like almost mind-numbing to think about how big this has already been. And the fact
There
that
was so much
this is
more.
only a fraction of it, truly. This is only a small fraction.
You eyeing the chimney?
I am eyeing the chimney. I was trying to figure out if that was coming up or if I should ask about it now.
Well, it's actually connected to the room we're going to next, which is Baldassar's grand ballroom.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Because
Why
he's
not have a grand
having
ballroom?
a resort,
Sure.
and so he needed a grand ballroom for events.
Oh my God.
So this was Baldassar's final project, and the idea for it was that it was going to be to have parties and events down here, but he did pass before he was able to finish it. So his younger brother, Giuseppe, after he was able to take ownership of this land, decided he wanted to finish it as a labor of love to Baldassar. And that's Baldassar.
Crazy. So there's actual video.
There is. This is from mid-1940s that this video was taken. He did not like being on camera. This was actually a friend of his who had an early handheld camera.
Yeah.
And it actually even shows a car driving through the auto tunnel if we wait for it. Yeah. And there's the car. That's the underground gardens.
Wow. Thank you so much. Well, this has been ridiculously amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And photos simply do not do it justice. So I know you guys are going to be watching this on video. I promise it's crazier than anything that you could see on your screen.
You have to see it in person.
You do have to see it in person.
To truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for all the people that are interested in coming here or supporting, what's the best way to do that?
Come visit us, come on a tour. We're open March through mid-December. Come and hear the history of it, see it for yourself. It really is like taking a little step back in time and learning the story of this really amazing individual. We are by reservation. We really recommend going to our website, just looking at tour availability and getting something booked.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I'm definitely going to stroll around the gift shop.
Sounds good.
The merch looks cool. 10 out of 10. No notes.
La la sta calabrisella morire mi fa. Rullale, rullala, sta calabrisella morire mi fa.
That's awesome.
You guys are concerts here?
Really? That was so unbelievable. I'm feeling very blessed right now that we got to do two like super amazing things today. And when you leave a national park, it can kind of be hard to compete with that. And today was just so fun. And we met so many awesome people. I'm just really stoked. Yeah, I feel like I'm buzzing a little bit right now. It was awesome. But now we have arguably the most important part of our day. Howdy, Christopher. Could I get a triple dipper, please? Oh my God. So we made it to our camp in Kings Canyon. The drive was pretty easy. It was only like an hour and a half. What's interesting is that this is the first campsite that we're at this trip that is like an official park campground that's inside the national park. Everything else that we've been doing has been a dispersed site, just kind of finding an off the beaten path zone. So it's kind of wild because right next to us are a bunch of people and we can hear them listening to music and hanging out. And the other nights it's just been dead silent. But they've got this awesome fire pit, so we're gonna get the flame going and rip some marshmallows before a big day tomorrow.